Hi there, this is Kevin from RogueDeckBuilder.com here with another brew that I'm working on. This is in the first stages, so you'll see the actual first deck that I put together, and then from then on I will cut cards, add cards, mess around with the quantities of cards, and so forth to make this deck as competitive as possible. If you haven't joined my Facebook page, this was actually I did a poll for which card I should brew next, and Master Biomancer was the winner, so it's this guy right here. So I'm going to do my best to break this card. Not doing anything tricky with this card. I've seen Master Biomancer in a couple casual decks. I saw it in a pretty fun Corpse Jack Menace deck. I've seen it in some other, some blue-green aggro type decks. You know, a few others, but I thought I'd make an elf deck, at least the best elf deck I can make here, with kind of the win conditions being Creator of Behemoth and Soul of the Harvest. This was one of my favorite decks back in Scars of Mirrodin Innistrad. Was they called it Elf Ball, and it tried to ramp into a Creator of Behemoth, and it actually went off pretty quick, like as fast as like turn 4. A lot of the times, and it used both Soul of the Harvest and Creator of Behemoth. But we did have a few better cards back then. We had Llanowar Elves, and I think there was another elf oh yeah, the Elvish Renegade guy that we had back then as well. And we also had Viridian Emissary. I don't know if they use Viridian Emissary or not, but it was also another cheap elf. So we don't quite have the elves that we did back for Elf Ball, but it still seems to be working okay. Once again, let me just describe the process of building a deck. I consider myself, I think that's first of all, that's my #1 attraction to Magic, is actually the creation of the deck. As I've said before, and I might lose a lot of people here, but let me explain. I'm a psychology major, and I'm huge into personality theory. One of the aspects of personality theory I love is the Myers-Briggs personality type. And I think it explains a lot about how you function as a person. And my specific personality type is ENFP. And ENFPs are known with leading with a cognitive function called extroverted intuition. And extroverted intuition is all about ideas, possibilities, making connections, abstract connections. Just we get it's kind of the thrill of the hunt, the thrill of learning new ideas and placing them together. We're more interested in the theory of something, not the practicality of something. We're also more interested in the initial part of the project, not necessarily the completion of a project. We are continually moving, continually looking for new connections and ideas. And with Magic, that's the deck building process, I would say, is my favorite part about it. Is just looking at all the cards and seeing all the cool combinations I can do together. And then I do get of course I do get a lot of rush and thrill off of actually playing the game. I consider myself a competitive player now. I think I can finally legitimize that claim now that I have top 16 at a Star City Open and qualified for a Pro Tour. I can say that, I'm a little amateur, getting my feet wet in the pro scene a little bit, so hopefully I do well at the Pro Tour. Anyway, so I do like that aspect as well. I'm very competitive. I did sports and speech and debate in high school, and I loved the competitive aspect of that as well. But as an ENFP, as someone that loves connections, ideas, abstract possibilities, this is what really hits home with Magic the Gathering with me, is just creating the deck. And how I do that, this is my process of creating a deck. And this isn't defined whatsoever. I do not start with the kind of usual suspects of deck building. You kind of want to have a good balance of creatures and spells and whatnot. When I'm testing, what I do is I just put every possible connection available in the deck and play it out, see what works the best, see what doesn't work, and then I start adding in the removal. Then I start, if you checked out my Moral Servitude deck, that's exactly how I had it. I started out with basically every 2-drop imaginable: pack rats, trolls, everything that I could, and people were saying, you have no removal in there, you're not gonna. Yeah, that was the point. I'm testing the deck right now. It's not supposed to be tuned for actual competitive play. And if you look at this deck right now, that's exactly what I'm doing. So basically I have this package in the sideboard that's very typical to green white, which is Centaur Healers to survive those aggressive decks. I got the Thrag Tusks, the Acidic Slimes to really put a damper on the like the 3 or 4 color decks strategy. I mean, Acidic Slime is just so mean against Esper Control right now, especially if you can start bouncing with Restoration Angels. And of course, Restoration Angels, probably one of the best cards ever printed for Magic, at least creature. And if you're running white and you're running Thragtusk and Centaur Healers, then of course it's basically an auto include. It actually has some pretty good value with Village Bell Ringer as well. Really liking this card. It's the only reason I'm going white. I could definitely go down to green-blue, but I like white for Gavany Township. It adds another dimension to this deck. It makes it so your 1-drops can actually be aggressive later on, and same with like the Elvish Visionaries. And it's actually kind of cool with Master Biomancer and Zamek Guildmage. This guy's alright. I think I need to add more blue sources. Alright, I'm already having problems with the amount of blue that... even though, again, I'm only 4 blue, I keep getting stuck on blue even though I'm using all 8 sources available of blue. I guess I could go down in white and you know, put some more blue. I could go a Hallowed Fountain instead of maybe a Forest or Sun Petal Grove or something. But, I mean, the Sun Petal Groves are kind of weak because I don't need them. Like, if I have them first turn, I don't need them to come into play tapped. And a Hallowed Fountain might work the same way as a Sun Petal Grove if I'm stuck using it into play. And a lot of times also I'm stuck with like a Sun Petal Grove and 2 Hinterland Harbors in my opening hand. So not only do I have to put my first turn into play tap, the second turn has to come into play tap too, and you know I can't cast 2 dorks at that time. Anyway, let's just go through the deck. I'll quit rambling here. I'm using that. He's not an elf, but he does ramp. So we're using the 4 Avacyn Pilgrims and the 4 Arbor Elves. And then on the other, and then the 2-drops, we have the Elvish Visionaries. They're just an elf that actually adds to the Archdruid and the Gyre Sage. The only problem I'm having with this card, it is an elf, and it is one of the more cheap elves, and it actually can evolve quite nice in this deck. But the problem is nothing really evolves it except for Zamek Guildmage and Village Bellringer at the first, because the Visionaries don't evolve it. The Elvish Archdruid actually does not evolve it, as immediately when Elvish Archdruid comes in, the Gyre Sage reads as a 2/2 and doesn't get the counter. I wasn't sure about that interaction, but I did just test it on MTGO, and that is exactly how it works. So yeah, the Village Bellringer does evolve it, and so does the Guild Mage. Another cool thing is the Group Primal Hunter tokens do evolve it, and will evolve it twice actually. And Master Biomancer does evolve it. And if you cast a Master Biomancer and then put a Gyre Sage into play, you've got a pretty good ramper. Then we have, of course, the deck is built around Master Biomancer. It's making all of your dorks really good. It makes a lot of times all you have to do is just dork, ramp into Master Biomancer, start casting some Elvish Visionaries, and then you can swing for the win quite easily. I have actually did get some pretty crazy card advantage off Zamek Guildmage before in a couple games. Village Bellringer, of course, the combination is you have a ton of elves in play, and then you Village Bellringer to untap all of your elves again, and you basically go off. You can cast a ton of mana and then Crater of Behemoth for the win. I was actually out racing. I played a Junk Reanimator 2 games in a row and won 4-0 all matches. I was just quicker than he was with because the problem with Junk Reanimator, a lot of times it doesn't have any sort of disruption. They just try to get out a quick Crater of Behemoth as well. And I was actually getting it off on turn 5, and he didn't have his nut draw, of course. A lot of times Junk Reanimator can stumble, and if they do stumble, I was way more consistent than him of getting off my 2 of Crater of Behemoth. I love Soul of the Harvest because you get it out and then you can cycle through your deck quite easily. I've drawn like 6 or 7 cards per turn. That's pretty normal. And then a lot of times with Group Primal Hunter, you can draw another 6 cards off of him because he comes to the turn after you play Group Primal Hunter, and it's pretty good. It works out. These 2 work out amazing as well. I probably should go up to 3. I'm not sure. I kind of like this. Another, of course, Somberwald Sage is another card you could definitely put in here. It's just a 3-drop instead of a 2-drop, and our 3-drop. We want to get this deck out as quick as possible. So we want to go 1-2 or 1-3, and then so I guess it would work 1-3. So maybe I definitely will have to look at using Somberwald Sage in here, see how it works. And then of course we'll tune the sideboard. I just threw these in as just like, you know, this is usually the white-green mid-range build right here with these cards. So, you know, no-brainer here. Yep, basically so the kill conditions in this deck are Master Biomancer, Crater of Behemoth, and it actually works out pretty well. Love and Gavany Township as well. If you have any suggestions for this deck, please let me know. I mean, I'm always looking at new angles to take this, And like I said, it's working out pretty good. It's of course it has some problem decks, but the surprising thing is I'm actually doing very well against like red deck wins and the RG aggro builds, and I even was able to stabilize and go over top of a pretty quick Naya Blitz draw, and because my Gyre Sages just got huge, and I had a Master Biomancer out, and it just everything I started putting out was just so much bigger than his stuff. And it was, Village Bellringer came in at a great time to untap everything and just wipe his board. And then, of course, Crater Behemoth comes out the next turn and just kills him. But, yeah, so I'm liking this deck. It's once again, I don't think this is the most competitive deck. I will admit as well that this probably won't ever become a tier 1 or tier 2 deck. This is something you could run in F&M. This is something that, helps your deck building skills out, and it's fun. And that's the point of Magic, is not always to, stomp your opponents, but to play a fun deck. So yeah, that's kind of the player I am when I'm not in competitive mode. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this deck. I'll tape some games here shortly. This is Kevin from RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.